Now that we understand so much about performance charts and the importance of getting the resources that our virtual machines need, we're going to have a look at alarms so that we can be notified in the event of any issues. We'll have a look at some of the predefined alarms that exist in vCenter, and we'll look at how we view and acknowledge those alarms. And we'll also have a look at how we customize these alarms as well. So what's an alarm? Well, it's a notification that is sent in response to some sort of event or condition that happens within the inventory of your vCenter. Couldn't have written it better myself than is on the slide already. In this case, we're looking at our vCenter server and the alarms that have been triggered throughout the entire vCenter server by looking here at the Monitor tab and then selecting Triggered Alarms. We'll notice here that there's CPU utilization issue in this virtual machine called Win10-02, and we can see that this is a virtual machine issue and that there's a warning. Okay, we're going to see warning-based severities as well as errors. Now, depending on the type of inventory object, there are going to be a large number of predefined alarms that are in the environment. There are alarms that are predefined for hosts and for virtual machines, for your data stores, for your networks, all kinds of different things that are already predefined. So you may find alarms that occur on a regular basis in your environment, depending on whether or not you have enough capacity, depending on whether or not you have hosts that fail in your environment, and so on. Okay? You're going to find these predefined alarms by clicking on the inventory object and finding the Configure tab here. Okay? So here's my Configure tab. Okay? And then selecting Alarm Definitions. So you'll find that there. You can see all of the different alarms that are there. You can then add your own custom alarms. You can edit existing alarms, and you can disable alarms if you want. You can also delete alarms. Now, deleting and modifying predefined alarms is up to you, but you can also create your own alarms so that if you want to disable a particular predefined alarm and replace it with one of your own, that's not a bad idea either. You can modify the triggers when this alarm is particularly triggered. Let's have a look at that as well in this lesson. You can create custom alarms with a right-click on any inventory object for which you want to be alerted, go to the Alarm submenu, and select New Alarm Definition. At this point, there's a wizard that pops up, and you are going to go through 4 steps, including the review, where we start by naming the alarm. Okay? In this case, we're going to create an alarm for a custom snapshot size. Hey, I want to be notified when a snapshot gets too large, because I know in those cases, sometimes performance can be hampered. So I want to know. Give it a name, give it a good description as well, especially if you're creating custom alarms. Make that description include your name, perhaps, the reason that you're creating the alarm, and so on. Then you're going to choose the type of alarm. Now, if I've right-clicked on, for example, a virtual machines folder or an individual virtual machine itself, the target type will default in this pull-down right here to whatever I might have selected, but you can always change that. Okay? The target for the alarm will be whatever you've selected. In this case, a folder called SA-VCSA01. Okay, so there's a folder with all the virtual machines that are running on that VM that's there. Okay, as I click next, I set up alarm rules. Okay, so these alarms are then given rules, and the rules have to have a trigger. What is going to trigger this alarm? Okay, and the trigger can be a number of different things. Okay, A trigger can monitor, try that again. A trigger can monitor a current condition or a particular state. Those are two different things, a condition or a state. An example of a condition is a snapshot exceeding a certain size, or the total memory utilization of a host exceeding 90%. A state might be like disconnected or connected, right? It's one of those two things. Let me know when a data store has been disconnected, right? I want to trigger an alarm. We can also monitor for specific events that have occurred. Hardware health has changed, licenses have expired, hosts leaving a distributed switch, another example of an event type trigger. These types of triggers are handled a little bit differently, whether it's an event handled one way or condition or state handled in a separate way. So in this case, I've got a condition that is being met. So my alarm rule is going to be, in this case, triggered when VM snapshot size, you'll notice that that's a pull down right here, okay, is above, there's an operator, is above, is equal to, is below, and then I type in the size, okay? What happens in that case? In that event, trigger the alarm and show it as a warning, okay? I can add another rule. If VM snapshot size is above 4 gigs, trigger an alarm and set it as an error or a critical event, okay? Also notice email notifications, okay? So I can add multiple rules if I want. When an alarm is triggered, I want to know what happens next, okay? This is the notifications that occur. I can either send email notifications or SNMP traps or run scripts. We also want to know what happens when the trigger, whatever triggered the alarm, whatever condition or event has gone away. What happens when things get better? Should I reset the alarm to normal? Okay. Should I change it from critical to warning and so on? So I can reset the alarm to normal. And I can also execute notifications when that happens. Of course, I may want to enable the alarm, of course, so don't forget that. That's done on the review page. So the review page says, gives me the name and the description and exactly what the rules are. So make sure that the rules that you configured are exactly what you want, and then you can create the alarm. Now, we noticed those different notifications that can be sent. Mail, run a script, run an SNMP trap. All of that stuff is actually configured at the vCenter level. So who am I going to send mail to? What's the SNMP receiver that I'm going to send the SNMP notification to? Okay. So if you edit the settings of your vCenter server, select Configure, okay, go to General, head over here to Edit, right, where we have your mail and SNMP receivers. I'm going to add my mail server and the sender. You'll notice here that there is no setting for SMTP or mail authentication. So you'll set up a mail relay from within your environment so that mail from your vCenter server and its IP address is accepted and sent appropriately through your mail servers. So that does it for alarms. Now we get to play with this a little bit. It's kind of a fun lab where we're going to create an alarm to monitor a particular condition. Okay, we're going to look at CPU again. Okay, we're going to trigger that alarm by executing the CPU busy script. We're going to create an alarm to monitor an event as well, and we're going to trigger that alarm, and then we'll disable the virtual machine alarms. Okay, so it's a nice lab to run through here in lab number 24, and that does it for alarms. which are an important part of our daily work as we go through monitoring the environment. So that is going to wrap it up really here for us in our resource monitoring module number 8. Okay, so it gives us a really good handle on the tools that we need, on the metrics that we're going to look at, and then what we do. What are some of the things that we can do in the environment in order to react when things can go wrong? Okay, so there's a nice little matching exercise that we can do here. So have a second, pause the video and look on this and see, in terms of the requirement for virtual beans, what are the features that we would like to execute and utilize? Here are some answers. Okay, so we've gone through this entire nice module here, and when we come back, we're actually going to finally look at clusters. We'll look at vSphere DRS, we're going to look at vSphere HA, and we're going to look at the feature of vSphere fault tolerance coming right up. Okay, when it comes to monitoring your environment, make sure that you stay really actively involved and become proactively involved, so that as you see utilizations rise, as you see your environment and become more accustomed to your environment, you're able to react very quickly and in an automated fashion even to alleviate issues of congestion as they arise. I hope you enjoyed this module, and we'll see you coming up here in Module 9. Talk to you very soon.